All right. So we have a very special guest this week, Benjamin Alexander. I don't know if you've heard about this gentleman, but super inspiring story. He is trying to be the first alpine Jamaican Olympic athlete in Beijing 2022. 2022. Those are words. So a big welcome, Benjamin. Thank you for joining us. And the crowd's going crazy.
Crowd's going nuts.
Thank you for having me. I love the show, guys.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
So for those not familiar with your story, do you want to do a quick little intro?
Yeah, sure. So as you said, I'm working on becoming the first alpine skier to represent the nation of Jamaica in the next Winter Olympics. I have a little bit of an interesting story. Not only the fact that I'm trying to represent Jamaica, but also in the fact that I just started skiing in 2016. So I'm super new to the whole thing. I spent the last decade as an international DJ traveling the world, and that was my life. And now this is the next fun project that I'm working on.
Sweet.
That's really unbelievable. So now you're in Jamaica right now, right?
Yes. Yeah, you catch me on the north coast of the island. Okay.
And now you're training with some of the Jamaican Olympians, right?
That's the plan. So, with COVID in place right now, I had to quarantine for the first 2 weeks. I got out of quarantine a week ago, and I've been traveling around the country and exploring, going back to the part of the country that my father is from. And the elections are happening in 2 days' time, so it's complete madness right now. But as soon as that's done, I'll be down in Kingston and hopefully training with some of the Summer Olympians. Yeah.
Now you weren't at Usain Bolt's birthday party, were you?
I was not at Usain Bolt's birthday party. So
That's a good thing, though. Usually it'd be like, oh, too bad. But now, seeing as how he got COVID, probably a good thing, right?
Yeah, and the police are investigating that party, actually. I think a lot of people are upset that there might be one rule for a certain caliber of people and a different rule for others. So I'm happy that I didn't get the invite to that one.
Yeah, seriously.
Dodged a bullet there, right?
So what is your summer training been like so far there?
So for the most part, I'm focusing on land training. There are mountains here in Jamaica. Blue Mountain, which is famous for the coffee, goes up to 7,400 feet, but obviously there's no skiing. And that's close to Kingston. I've based myself on the coast. So realistically, it's all about just weight training and cardio training. I haven't been able to find a Peloton bike down here. I absolutely love the Peloton that I use back home.
I just got one 3 months ago. Love that thing.
That's so good. I'm really loving it. I've probably done about 50 classes, and I'm finishing in the top 0.05% of the world in most of my classes. So really, really good. And I'm doing that at altitude as well. I'm sleeping at 7,300 feet above sea level back home in Jackson. So I was just keen to see what I could do on a Peloton bike at sea level.
Wow. So are you doing any like rollerblade downhill or anything like that? Ski blade kind of like on
none of that stuff here in Jamaica. To be quite frank, the potholes are scary enough in a car.
Oh, wow.
I would hate to catch a pothole at like 40, 50 miles an hour coming down on rollerblades or any of the summer equipment.
That would be bad. How about bike riding? You ride up hills. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually recovering from a big mountain bike crash that I had in Jackson right before I left. I bruised the rib or did something like that. That pain that just doesn't go away.
Yeah.
But I love getting on the stationary bike inside of the gym.
Good.
One of my favorite exercises.
So now, one thing you alluded to before is now you've only been skiing since 2016, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And before you were an Olympic hopeful, you were an international DJ.
Yes.
And according to your bio, it was at Whistler where you were DJing a party. That's where you decided to first take your first ski lesson. Is that correct?
Almost. So
almost
the first exposure that I had to the wonderful outdoors covered in snow and the mountainous terrain that we all love on this podcast was actually at a heli ski trip that was in Christmas of 2015. A friend of mine organizes a regular trip at an event at a heli ski lodge called Micah. And I was invited to come along as part of the contingent of non-skiers. We flew in DJ equipment, et cetera, et cetera. And on one of the days, we were flown up to the top of the mountain to have lunch with all the skiers and really just experience what it was like in this terrain. And it was there and then that I decided that I absolutely wanted to be a part of this sport. Fast forward to 2 months after this, I was actually DJing in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, and I was flown to Whistler to DJ at a swingers party. And in between all of the madness there was when I decided that this was the time to take a lesson and figure this sport out. So that's kind of like the backstory to how I got started.
Nice.
So we're just glossing over the swingers party part.
Yeah.
Just glossing over.
So you escaped the swingers party to go skiing, which is probably a good idea too. You dodged another bullet there.
The things you get to see as a DJ, that's all I'll say.
That's right.
Well, that's another cool question. So I know you mentioned like being flown up and on the heli-skiing trip. Now I know like those circle DJ sets. They had was it Adriatic? Is that how you pronounce their name? They were at Alpe d'Huez. Is that in France?
Alpe d'Huez.
It's such a beautiful video, right?
I love that set. I just put it on sometimes just to have the music and then like the view and the background. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
One of the
that's what they do there.
One of the videos that channel has put out was down in the salt flats of Bolivia. The Saya de Uyuni, I forget how to pronounce it, but it's set over sunset, and it's the salt flats with a tiny bit of water on it. So you have this beautiful mirrored image. And that's quite similar to what we actually do. So part of what I did as a DJ is help run the largest soundstage at the event Burning Man, and that soundstage is called Robot Heart. And you can find all of our SoundCloud sets online, or there's hundreds of thousands of YouTube videos and stuff that's been put up there from Robot Heart at Burning Man. So we're quite close to the Circle guys. We're considering doing something with them actually.
That's super cool.
So I guess that's how you got invited to the swinger party.
Part of it, yeah, exactly.
It's funny. We've been doing this podcast for like 5 years, and we've talked about Burning Man every single year, and neither of us have gone.
I know.
It's just one of those things. Obviously, this year, not going to happen, and it's coming up. It would be this week, right?
It would be this week, yeah. I mean, typically, my team and I would be out there for about 2 weeks in total, so we would have already been in the dust for about 9 days at this moment. So it's definitely a shock to the system. This would have been my 10th consecutive year. But sometimes change is good, right? It's good to do other things. And my socials are completely filled with photos and videos from, people reminiscing from previous years. So I definitely miss it. It's something you guys should definitely get to see. And I'm actually thinking of maybe setting up a kind of mini dry ski slope there at 2021 if we have a Burning Man, just as like a fun thing for people to interact with and do out there at Burning Man that's kind of in tandem with what I'm doing with this ski bid.
You can get like Candide Sauvé to show up and like launch over the Burning Man at one point.
Sending it off of like fake mountains. That'd be cool. Yeah.
So there's another question I have about. So you're an international DJ. You go to this swingers party. You're DJing. You start skiing. Now, to be an Olympic skier, you have to be in tremendous shape. And when you think about, well, it's probably a stereotype regarding DJs. You're thinking partying all night and perhaps some allegedly recreational drugs. Yeah. How did you, like, were you doing some sort of training regimen at that time as well?
No. So I was kind of like the typical DJ. I'm just going to readjust so I don't get caught in the rain. As I said, Hurricane Nana is passing us by here.
Oh, wow.
Okay, now I'm covered. All right, let's get back into view. So during that period, I did have the typical DJ unhealthy lifestyle, in that I was on a plane every third day, and that it was late nights into early mornings, if not afternoons, and just not really much structure or routine to life. And it's easy to become unhealthy like that. But then after giving that up, because I'm actually retired now, I retired in 2018. It's just really been all about skiing. I skied 181 days this season. Almost 100 of those days were in the backcountry. And over those 100 days, I basically climbed almost 300,000 vertical feet. And that's where a lot of my fitness and endurance and strength has come from being forced into the backcountry because of COVID, because of Corona, and having to learn the backcountry side of our sport and just loving it and really enjoying the fitness that's come out of it. I love using my Peloton bike. We have one at the house I'm at in Jackson, and I'm typically finishing in the top 0.05% of the world in my classes.
Nice.
And outperforming all of the ESPN All-Stars that they put together for that charity ride they did in May. The winner was Matt Grievers, or Matt Grievous. He's a 6-time U.S. Medalist, Olympic medalist. He's the current U.S. swim team guy. He's a 240-pound beast, 6'7", and I managed to outperform him on the Peloton charity ride. So I've gotten a lot of fitness out of the backcountry, and that's kind of put an end to that unhealthy section of life, DJing, and become the launch pad for this new healthy athlete version of myself.
So even before you were a DJ, you weren't into serious athletics then, or anything?
No. I mean, I'm English born and raised, and so us Brits, we play football. That's all we do. We're fanatical about football. Our second sport isn't even on the radar. And so I was. Right? Say that again.
Hooliganism.
Yeah, exactly.
Darts.
The ancillary sport to the primary sport. I was good. I played for the school team, but I wasn't an outstanding athlete. But I think when you approach things in later life and you come at it with a mature adult mindset, you can just throw yourself at these things. And really, the fitness has just come really easy as a result of my dedication and desire to just be out there and ski. I think the addiction to skiing has just given me fitness as a side effect, like an ancillary benefit. I wasn't even aiming for that, but that just came along with skiing every day.
That's so amazing. And I guess too, again, if you weren't one of those, some of these kids you hear they're training for the Olympics at 8 years old, they're blowing out their knees, they're blowing out their hips. It's almost like you mentioned, you have this wisdom at an older age, but you have this body that hasn't been mangled and destroyed yet.
Right.
So you can come at it at a more advanced, a more intelligent, a wiser state. And your body's like, oh, let's just do this. We're not all beat up. We're not destroyed. We can make this happen.
Totally. I mean, we all know athletes that are just really struggling with their joints or back pain, I watched, what's the name? Reggie, the 9-time Mr. Olympian. Poor guy has had a dozen surgeries on his back, and
Ronnie Coleman.
He walks, basically has the body of an 80 or a 90-year-old right now. He's just really struggling. And we all know athletes that have been doing their trade for decades upon decades and are now in their middle ages and just really, really struggling. I didn't really have that. So I guess I'm fortunate in that regard.
Yeah. I think too, it's a testament to just technology. Like there's ways to train. Like you said, you do the Peloton bike. So you're simulating a lot of stuff without actually being out, on the course or kind of in harm's way. So that helps a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm sure everybody's benefiting from it, but you're a perfect example, I guess, of, how you can make that go from, a DJ to now all of a sudden you're an Olympian. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I think we're blessed with all of these high-tech tools. So a couple of other things I use the Tonal. It's a company based out of San Francisco, and it's basically like a multi-gym, but it's all electronic with electronic weights. So the resistance is created by magnets, and that's really magnets. Great to not get injured and to improve my strength. And then there's also a company based out of, where are they from? I think they're out of London. It's called Carve. Have you heard of this, guys? It's a boot insert that gives you real-time feedback about your skiing as you're going down the slope. They sponsored me with a product, and I've been using that as well. And so we have all of these new gadgets and technology to help us along the way.
Very nice.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's putting the technology into coaching and guiding you. So it's perfect. I mean, way to do it.
Yeah.
So Nat, so you're saying you're in the wintertime, you're based in Jackson?
Yeah, so I've chosen Jackson as my base. The friend that got me into skiing has a beautiful house out there. He's a former ski racer himself when he was in his teenage years. He was the guy that invited me out to the heli ski lodge. Tom is his name. And back in October of last year, when I wasn't sure which mountain I was going to ski on, I was thinking about Revelstoke. Tom just said to me, buddy, my house is empty. My house is your house. Just get out there. And he's been my biggest supporter thus far with free accommodation and getting me into the sport and connecting me to a lot of the world's best skiers.
Well, Jackson's a place to do it, right?
It's not Tommy Moe, is it?
No.
Because I know he's a Jackson guy. I know he's we call him a buddy of ours. We have skied with him, and we saw him at a trade show a couple years ago. But because I I'm sure. I don't know if you've run into him at all. I know he's all over the resort there in the wintertime.
No, I'm not. I haven't run into him. I mean, in our crew, Steve Nyman, current U.S. downhiller, recovering from an injury, sending him best regards. Lindsay Dyer, big mountain professional skier. Travis Rice, obviously, he does the one stick on the snowboard instead of two. And there's lots of other really. Who else? Breezy Johnson's part of the crew. There's a lot of good skiers out there that are just helping me and directing me and kind of keeping me on the rails with regards to my training and making sure I don't make any silly mistakes.
That's cool. So unbelievable, that crew that you're rolling with. Now, how do you was there a certain a moment where you were getting started skiing, really falling in love with it, and said, you know what, I'm training for the Olympics going forward?
Yeah. So what happened is in 2018, friends of mine set up an event called Send It. It is a tech entrepreneur event that happens on a mountain. So it happens on Revelstoke in British Columbia. And it's about 150 to 200 of us. It changes year by year that dress up, drink alcohol, and ski our hearts out for 5 days. And he had his first event in January of 2018. I then went to the Olympics that same year in South Korea as an attendee. And at the Olympics, I realized that the nation of Jamaica only had three athletes representing it. So a little bit of a seed of an idea was formed there. I then skied Japan. I then skied 7 mountains across Patagonia, both sides that same year. And I kind of really, really got the ski bug in 2018. Then in 2019, going back to that event, Send It, friends and I decided to take an apartment or a house for a whole month. And going into that event, I was like, if I can survive a month of skiing, because I love to go fast, and obviously I had zero technique back then, if I can survive a month of high-speed skiing, maybe there's some legs to this crazy idea of getting to the Olympics. 5 days into that month, I skied with Gordon Gray, former U.S. national skier, and I told him about my idea. And after a day of skiing together, Gordon says, all right, I'll give you the Scooby. I'll tell you exactly what I feel about this bid or this idea of yours. Your technique sucks, but that's to be expected. You've skied, 20, 25 days so far, and you told me you've had 2 lessons in that period. He said, but the one thing I can't understand is how the hell are you keeping up with me? I'm a former U.S. national skier. You've skied 20-something days. I've been skiing since I was 2. And you're keeping up with me. I don't understand it. You're completely fearless. And he said, you have more than half the battle won there. I can teach you technique. We can teach you technique. We can't teach you not to be afraid. And it was actually Gordon who helped me understand the difference between all the disciplines, helped me understand what would be the prerequisites of qualification for each discipline and what would be required to compete for Jamaica. He helped me understand what a fist point was. I didn't even know what that was at the start of last year. And so he was really pivotal in saying, okay, you've got something here. Let's see if we can actually turn this from just a pipe dream into reality. And so I would say that coming out of that 6 weeks it turned into, because I extended my trip, as we would all love to do at the end of every ski trip. I came out of that and I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'd skied 1.7 million vertical feet in those 37 days. And I left the mountain of Revelstoke with a record of having the most skied vert in one day. I skied 103,351 vertical feet in one day. So those kind of little weird numbers that I love to talk about just help me decide, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna give it a shot.
Wow, that's amazing.
That is so cool.
So now you mentioned so the fist points. So that whole qualification, right? You have to get so many points during events throughout the year to qualify for the bigger events. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so the spirit of the Olympics is that every nation should be able to be represented in every single sport, right? And it's important to understand that because that's what makes this possible. And so what the Olympics have kind of set out is that every nation can put forward one B standard athlete. Now, the prerequisites for qualification for a B standard athlete are 160 fist points. Fist points go down for the readers that are not into racing, and 0 would be the top of the tops, the Ted Liggettys and all of those guys. 160 fist points would actually be a Ted Liggety at the age of 15 or 16 years old. So technically, what I need to do, or not technically, but basically what I need to do, is get my skiing level up to that of a really good 15, 16-year-old teenage racer. And I become a shoe-in for the Olympics as long as I have the support of my National Olympic Committee, which I do. I got to meet them the first time last week. And then that's it. So it's not easy. It's not a walk in the park, and I've had to put a lot of time and effort into it, and there'll be a lot more work and blood, sweat, and tears that get me from here to qualification. But it's doable.
So how many events have you done so far for points?
Yep. So I've skied 6 races.
6.
The overarching goal for 2020, the winter of 2020, was to get as much time on snow as possible and to get to about 10 races, not to be competitive, but to kind of understand how the whole system works, how the scoring system works, to make all of the mistakes that I'm bound to make, but make them when the points don't matter. And then go into the 2021 season with a view to get about 24 races, 25 to 30 races, shall we say, under my belt. At which point I should be qualified after having done that. So the reason I got to only 6 races, we all suffered from a short season this year. I didn't get to race at Jackson. I didn't get to race in Mammoth. But in terms of what I've achieved thus far, I feel very good about it, and I feel that as long as we have a somewhat normal race calendar this year, and we know that the World Cup races have been moved around. But if we have a somewhat normal race calendar for the criteria which I'm racing, then I'm certain I'll be qualified by March or April of next year.
Very cool.
Wow. Yeah. So now all the races are going to be in Europe this year, correct?
So there's a differentiation. All of the World Cup races will be in Europe. And the reason behind that, or at least the reason they're saying, is that they don't want to have everyone crossing the Atlantic backwards and forwards. And, with the way the border situation is right now, I can completely understand that. If you try to put all of the athletes in a bubble and just keep them inside of Europe and have all of the North American athletes just go to Europe and base there, it just reduces complexity. So it's going to be tough for those that are going to have to be away from their family or move their entire family across to Europe for that period. But I think the net problems and the net disruption is much less than asking all races from around the world have to keep bouncing between Europe and North America, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So are you going to be based somewhere else then this winter?
No, my plan is to stay at Jackson. The beautiful thing about Jackson is that I can be a part of the Western Tech Conference, and I can get to over 20 races within an 8-hour drive of Jackson, which just massively reduces stress and economical concerns and financial concerns with regards to getting to enough races. If you have to put that 80-pound bag onto a plane every weekend, it's not only is it a pain in the rear end, but it also starts to get a little pricey.
Yeah.
Also, it stresses on the body too from all the flying, and if you can do that.
I mean, I left that life behind. Being on a plane every third day, DJ in a new city was the life I left behind. So I'm really enjoying the sitting still element of winter sports and just staying in Jackson and not moving at all.
So now, do you have a bunch of sponsors, or how's that working for financing the operation?
Yeah, so thus far, I've been funding it out of my own pocket and with the goodwill of people around me, such as my buddy Tom, who's I'm staying with him for free, and a few other people that have chucked me equipment and so forth. What I wanted to view the season of 2020 as was kind of like a proof of concept. It was going to be the first full winter that I would dedicate towards skiing, and the intention was that at the end of that season, or this season, shall we say, I would have enough data points to speak to sponsors and say, hey, this thing may have been a pipe dream just like 10 months ago, or just like a year ago. Now it's a reality. I have fist points. I've raced with the people at the caliber which I need to kind of compete with and beat, and I've shown the hard work and dedication with the 181 days, 100 of them in the backcountry. Now it's time for sponsors. So I don't have any financial sponsors right now. So if anyone's listening, I'm all ears and would love to be connected to people.
Where can they get to sponsor you? Where do they reach out to you?
I think the easiest way right now would be just through Instagram to DM me. My Instagram handle is Benji, BENJI .ski. And if you just type that into Google as well, it'll take you to the website, Benji.ski. There's no .com at the end of it. That will take you to my website. You can contact me there as well.
Nice.
Perfect. Now, what do you see right now as the biggest obstacle between today and starting gate in Beijing in 2022?
There's two. And they're kind of on equal footing. One of them is the border issue and like, will races happen? If we have a diminished calendar, let's say for some reason FIS decides that only a third of races will happen in the United States, then those 20 races that I can get access to within an 8-hour drive of Jackson then become 7 or 8 races, and then I have to fly. So that changes the parameter of my qualification route. And then the other
Hopefully
thing,
after this podcast, you'll get a lot of sponsors and you'll have a house in Europe somewhere.
yeah, that's the hope. That's the hope. And then the other one is kind of intrinsically linked in that it's the financial aspect. So it's a little known fact that most Olympians will finish their Olympic Games $30,000 to $50,000 in debt. I hope to not be one of those people, and so the financial aspect of it as well can be quite challenging. So that they're both linked in a way. But, like I said, I feel confident right now. I think the whole world is in the situation of having to learn to be zen and to go with the flow and not try to force the matter that's outside of their hands and try to make things happen that are outside of their control, and just sit back and let the world figure out what's going to happen. Let the governing bodies decide what's going to happen with regards to races and scheduling. And then once you have the data in hand, make the right choices based on that data.
Well, I think it's a wonderful story, and just I know there's a lot of Jamaican Americans in the U.S. that I'm sure would probably want to jump on the support wagon for getting you to the Olympics. I think it's great. An island country competing in winter sports is amazing. I mean, I'm my parents are from Puerto Rico. I was born in the U.S., but I kind of have the same idea that it'd be great to have like a Puerto Rican ski team. But,
you could have been that guy.
Could have been that guy.
You could still be that guy.
Still be that guy.
Listen, if my story has anything to show for it, going from DJ to skier, having never skied before 2016, I think you have the potential to be that guy.
I think I might have to start.
Now is the time.
I got 2 years, right? So we'll see.
Never too late. You need to be qualified by January of 2022.
You got to get on your horse, my man.
All right.
Yeah.
Got to step things up.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great story. I mean, I hope people come out of the woodwork to support you, because it's a really great story. And there are a lot of people, I've met I had a great friend in college that was Jamaican, and his parents were pretty well off. So I'll have to reach out and be like, look, did you know about the Jamaican skier?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not only the Jamaican skier, but I'm the Jamaican ski team. I'm the captain of the Jamaican ski team. I'm also
the
masseuse for the Jamaican ski team right now. I'm the driver for the Jamaican.
Baggage handler, right?
Yeah, exactly. But there are 750,000 Jamaicans in America, so there's a big market there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. And especially too now with social media and the outreach that you can, the way you can reach people now to spread your story. I mean, it really is like, I think about that. You just learned in 2016 to skate.
Amazing.
4 years and you're already looking to qualify for the Olympics. It's unbelievable. It's so cool.
Yeah. I saw an advert here in Jamaica the other day, and it's kind of a cheesy line, but it was, it's like a painting on the wall that said Jamaican, but with the last four letters, the ICAN, in different colors. So the Jamaican, and then the I in a different color to the CAN, so the I can. And I think this is kind of testament to the can-do mentality, that to consider doing something so late in life, having never skied before, and to try and get to compete on the highest field in the Olympics is a big part of that can-do mentality. And I think this doesn't only apply to skiing, but it can apply to anything in life. And I hope that it's kind of inspirational for others that are kind of timid to take the first step towards something they've been dying to do for a while.
Now, are you feeling the inspiration when you're traveling around Jamaica? Because I know from the Jamaican bobsledding team, I'm sure that was kind of when that started out in inception. I'm sure it was kind of a joke, and people were like, "Are you really serious?" And now people are probably really jazzed about it, right?
Oh yeah. So Cool Runnings is the name of about 5,000 businesses on this island now, and they're really, really proud. They have. Did you guys ever see that Audi advert with Candide, where he's like skiing on mountains and everything, and then he gets to a chairlift in the middle of a tropical area, and there's a Jamaican guy that says, "Skier man, come back next December." Did you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
So look at Andy Thorvex, Audi, the car brand, and it's a 4-minute long one. Skip to the end. So there is a resort not too far away from where I am right now, 10 miles away, called Mystic Mountain. There's a chairlift that goes up to the top of this kind of hill, and at the top there's like a bobsled. So it's created all of these fun tourist activities. So they love the bobsled team here and what the story stands for. And I actually have a weekly call with Dudley Stokes, who was the pilot for the 1988 Jamaican bobsleigh team.
Oh, wow.
And he was a
Nice.
mentor of sorts in this whole story. He's helping me with like sports psychology, sports nutrition, and whatnot. And it's just great to have him a part of this. You know, I was 9 or 10 years old when the movie Cool Runnings came out, and that movie made me very proud to be Jamaican. And I'd like to say that it was kind of like, you know, the seed of the idea started there. So it's great to have Dudley on my team.
It's nice to see people coming out to help too. You know, that's important, helping each other out, right?
Well, that's too.
So-
It's like your attitude too toward this is so wonderful because right now, like you have so many people who are just naysayers, and there's so much hostility and negativity going on right now in the world. To have like beacons of hope, like I mean, that's what we have to draw ourselves towards. Is like be beacons of hope, beacons of positivity, because it's easy to be someone to go, you know what, it's too hard, I'm not going to do it. But to be that person who pushes through and is like, you know what, maybe I won't do it, but I'm going to give it everything I have and see where I end up. And you'll always be in a better place, pushing yourself, challenging yourself, doing something absolutely nuts that people say you can't. And you are the epitome of this right now. I mean, it's so much fun just even thinking about you in the Olympics right now. So I really appreciate everything you've done. And hopefully, I know you've definitely inspired some other folks to kind of challenge themselves as well.
Yeah,
You're
I mean,
definitely an inspiration.
The analogy of climbing a mountain happens one step at a time, and if you're looking at the top of the mountain from the base, it can seem overwhelming. But if you put your head down and you just kind of keep checking the boxes and take one step at a time, it's amazing what kind of the scale of the projects that you can complete if you kind of like keep your focus on each small task at a time.
And the Confucius, right? Journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step.
Exactly that. Yep.
I got a couple more questions. I think we're probably taking a lot of your time already, but so
I got all the time for you guys in the world.
You're on island time, right?
Yeah, man.
So as a DJ, a former DJ, do you listen to music when you ski?
I do not. I actually think it's dangerous to do so, and especially through the trees. It's just that I skied with many people through the trees, and you know the kind of like the etiquette is to hoop and holler in case someone goes missing.
Right.
And the number of times I've skied with skiers that are listening to music, it's just like, no, I don't get down with that. But I do if I'm by myself, I will listen to music on the chairlifts.
Nice.
Okay. And anything particular you ski to or get you fired up to go skiing?
You know, one thing crazy, I DJ for 20 years, 10 years professionally around the world. One thing crazy is that when you step back from a profession, sometimes you just end up doing the complete polar opposite. So now, instead of being a complete music nerd and being incredibly picky about things, I let Spotify DJ for me.
There you go.
The only type of music that I really associate with skiing would be the kind of 80s motivational music. Like if it's a power day, I'll
Quiet
turn
Riot.
on the or like just the Rocky theme tune, stuff like
Eye
that.
of the Tiger.
Eye of the Tiger at 7 a.m. in the house to get everyone up if it's a powder day. Like, so that just gets everyone jazzed and pumped.
Very cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I ski with these chips that you put in your helmet, and it's like it gives you more ambient sound. It doesn't cancel out any sound, so it's kind of cool. It sounds like it's playing music on the mountain rather than
around you. Yeah, sure. I've seen those. Yeah.
They're not sponsors.
They're
Let's
not
just get that clear.
That's why I didn't mention the name. Screw those
That's
guys.
right. So one other music related question I have for you. So fast forward to the night that you've completed and competed in the GS in the Olympics. Who do you have DJing your after party?
You're gonna have to have an after party.
Yeah. Oh no, we're definitely gonna have an after party. We're definitely gonna have a Jamaica house. I've been starting to collect a lot of reggae music and a lot of dancehall music. I think we should have like an actual reggae party right after or at the closing ceremony in the Jamaican
Reggae
house.
après.
That seems pretty appropriate.
I'm hoping that Red Stripes sponsor the whole thing.
Yeah, great beer.
It'll be the place to be in the Winter Olympics, because where else are you going to go? You're not going to go hang out in one of the Nordic tents. You're going to go to the Jamaican tent, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
My father-in-law lives in Norway, and we've had the cuisine. Not going to the Norway tent. Wonderful people. Just they just kind of skipped the home ec classes.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be cool. A Jamaican house and everything out there. I mean, well, there's going to be some other athletes from Jamaica competing, right, in the winter?
Yeah, so this could actually be the biggest contingent of athletes that have gone to a Winter Olympics. Hopefully we'll have the men and women's bobsleigh, the skeleton. There's hopefully 2 figure skaters.
Oh wow!
And me. So I think we could be 10, which would be the most number of athletes Jamaica has ever sent to the Winter Games. And the beautiful thing about my timing is the president of the Jamaican Olympic Association has just taken the role from the guy who had it for 40 years prior to him. And Christopher Samuda is his name. He's let it be known to me that he really wants to have Jamaica represented in a lot more sports, and he really wants the winter side of our athletic offering to be as strong as the summer games. Now, there's a long way, there's a big gap between the two, but I feel like my timing is perfect with regards to getting support from him and the rest of the staff at the Jamaican Olympic Association. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun time.
That's great.
Awesome.
It's interesting to hear they're getting into like figure skating. I mean, those are things you could do all year, just.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
So next thing you have to do, you're going to have to figure out a way to get one of those indoor ski resorts in Jamaica.
Yeah. So the plan was, before I decided to move to Jackson, I was actually hanging out in New York quite a bit, and I was very excited. The Big Snow opened, but obviously it closed because of COVID. But I believe that just opened up again, right?
Today they reopened, September 1st. Yep.
Yeah, awesome. So excited to give that a shot.
Yeah, we were there last year when it opened, and it was a lot of fun. It's really cool. And one thing we talked about when we went there was that, again, it's only 170 feet of vertical.
Sure.
You can lap it, you can work on your turns, you can improve your form, but they have a little terrain park section too. And we were saying, like, kids who grew up in those areas who might not have had the chance to ski, next in the Olympics in like 15, 16 years, they're going to have some insane terrain park skiers from that area, because if you can train
100%.
365 in your backyard, I mean,
Yep.
it's going to open up a whole new demographic of kids, which is awesome.
Yep, 100%. And they're planning to open up the next one in Miami, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm down here in Tampa, and there's a lot of winter stuff going on here. I mean, a lot of skating, a lot more rinks I see opening up, ice rinks. So I have a little stepson that plays hockey now. So down in Tampa, what do you do?
That's awesome. No, you're absolutely right. The inner city kids that would never have the ability to get to access winter sports. Big Snow is really going to change the demographic and the landscape of the type of athletes that are at the Olympics in 10 years' time, representing the country, guaranteed.
Mm.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool to see, like, the way the bar is going to be pushed to with all these kids getting, access. How many people have access 365 to any sort of, skiing terrain park?
Right.
Now they're going to have that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe one day
to Mount Hood. Then in North America, there's nowhere else to do that all year round, right?
Yeah, there's no other glaciers. I guess Whistler is shutting down one part of their glacier because of the melt there of it. Yeah. The Huntsman. I believe it's the Huntsman T-bar that's coming down. Yeah. So it looks like with the way things are happening climate wise, we may have to bring a lot of stuff indoor, but it's only a matter of time. Our great grandkids may be skiing an indoor Whistler, 4,000, 5,000 feet of vertical indoors. Who knows?
Yeah.
In my old age, I may be watching the Jamaican hockey team facing off. That would be kind of cool.
We have a hockey team. There is a Jamaican hockey team. Yeah, they're based out of Canada, actually. So,
nice.
I think it's 300,000 Jamaicans in Canada, and there is actually a Jamaican hockey team. And the hopes is that one day they'll get strong enough to actually get to the Olympics.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'll triple the size of your team right there.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh yeah, how many players do they carry on a hockey team? Right?
25, 26, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So there you go. There's your numbers right there.
Game changer.
All right, so Benjamin, we really appreciate you taking the time. Give everyone the information so they can, if they want to reach out to you or sponsor you or anything.
Yeah, so best way to access me, as I said, is Benji, BENJI.ski, and you can type that into your web browser and you can contact me there, or you can just type that into Instagram and watch a lot of the funny videos that I post. And with regards to sponsoring, if there's anyone out there that is looking to sponsor an athlete with the can-do mentality that's representing Jamaica, there's a lot of cool points with being connected with Jamaica, obviously, then I'm all ears. Or if anyone knows anyone that might be interested in this story, I'm just super appreciative of people sharing this journey that I'm on right now, including you guys. So really, thank you for having me on today.
I think maybe you're going to need to set up like a GoFundMe or something so people can chuck, 10, 15, 50, $100 million your way,
Yeah. I'm considering a GoFundMe. We shall see. I hope there are enough corporate sponsors out there to help me along the way, but I may consider a GoFundMe.
Beautiful.
Cool.
And thank you so much for joining us and for just what you're doing and being an inspiration, because best of luck, and anything we could ever do, we're here for you. So thank you.
Awesome.
Don't be a stranger.
But please get us on that invite list for the Jamaica house.
Yeah.
For that, that celebration.
Consider it done.
Awesome.
All right.
All right, Benjamin.
I think I have an extra 50 guest list spots.
Perfect.
Excellent.
All right, Benjamin. Thank you so much. Best of luck in training, and we'll hopefully talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot.
Hope so. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.